All right, folks, this is going to be part two to my end time series, okay? And a lot of the stuff that I said in the first video, I should have clarified a little bit because you guys might not understand what I'm referencing. So let's start with the whole anointing thing and why I tried to talk about anointings. And if you watched the first video, I talked about how John was in the spirit power of Elijah and all that, how anointings can be transferred and this, that, and the other, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the first video. Okay. The reason I talk about that is because that's what Messiah means, okay? As you can see right here, the Hebrew word Mashiach, meaning Messiah, that's where we get our word Messiah. When you say Jesus the Messiah, in Hebrew, you would actually say Yeshua HaMashiach. That is Jesus the Messiah or Jesus Christ. In Greek, in the New Testament, anointed means Christos. Or it's the word is Christos, and that's where we get Christ. But they both mean anointed. And that, in a very basic term, means that you are one that is one, it means one anointed with oil. But on a higher level, you're anointed with oil, and what that does is that separates you, that sanctifies you for a special purpose, which means God has a special purpose for you. You're going to do something special. He has separated you out from the rest, and He is going to work through you to do a specific thing, okay? That's what being anointed means. So when we say Jesus Christ, we're saying Jesus the anointed, Jesus the Messiah, and Mashiach, Messiah comes from that because it means the anointed one, and that became a reference to the one that was going to deliver Israel from their enemies and rule the world from the throne of David, right? Okay? And Christos, again, here's that word. It's derived from earlier word. It means anointed. I'm not going to read all that and bore you guys with that, but I wanted to cover that. So basically what I'm saying is, and I want to be very clear, I believe that it's highly possible that in the end times deception there will be a group of Jews, okay? And they are going to say, they're going to say, yeah, okay, Jesus did come first. He's the suffering Messiah, right? But that was an anointing that left him. And here, hey, this new guy, this is the conquering king. He's in the spirit of the Messiah come again to be the conquering Messiah. Because if you remember in the first video, I talked to you all about how you have verses in Isaiah that talk about a suffering Messiah, and then you've got verses in the Old Testament and even in Isaiah, I believe, that talk about the conquering Messiah, the conquering king. So, and of course, one gets killed and the other one's a conquering king. One suffers and pays for the sins of man, and the other's a conquering king. So we got two contrasting stories about what this individual is going to do, okay? But Jesus resolves all of that by coming first to die for our sins, and then in the second coming, he comes to be the conquering king, where he'll literally sit on the throne of David in Jerusalem and rule the world, folks. That's going to happen, right? Okay, but I believe that the New Age spin will be, well, okay, I could just hear it coming out of their mouths. Well, okay, fine. Maybe you Christians was right about Jesus in the first aspect, but he's not coming again. But it'll be the spirit or the Christ consciousness that's resting on this guy, this military leader, and it'll probably, be a good-looking dude that talks great, and the whole world's going to flock to him, right? They're going to say, like, well, okay, well, this guy's in the anointing of the Messiah. He's in the anointing of Jesus, and he's come to rule the world. And I believe that will be part of the end-time deception, folks. Okay. I wanted to cover that first and be clear, right? Okay. Now I want to talk about my reference in the first video to the Statue of Liberty, right? Okay. Now, if you listen to the first video, you notice that I believe that the Statue of Liberty is symbolic of the dualism between the god Apollo and the god Dionysus, right? Okay? It's Dionysus in the Greek, and it's Bacchus in the Greek too, and it's Liber or Liber in the Roman pantheon or what have you. And the Romans called him Liber, Liber. That's where we get our word liberty, right? Liber, liberty, and he stands for liberty and chaos and a lot of crazy things, right? And a lot of I have heard my whole life that's the Statue of Liberty, and that's a female. Okay. First and foremost, let's just throw our eyes on this here, okay? If this is a woman, it's not made like a woman, and she's got a neck like a linebacker on steroids. That runs all the way out to her jawline. I do not believe that's a man, right? interestingly enough, wouldn't you know, I was looking to see if she had an Adam's apple. I want to be honest. I Googled, I'm like, does the Statue of Liberty have an Adam's apple, right? Lo and behold, the Daily Mail posted a link. Is Lady Liberty actually a man? The statue's face was modeled on sculptor Frederick Augustine Bartholdi's mentally ill brother. Okay, now look here. Look at the features of that thing, man. If you think that's a woman, you might not be a man. I can tell you that, because as being a man attracted to women, that is not it's surely not an attractive woman anyways, right? Let me get to the point here. Some say, the people that say that Statue of Liberty is a woman says that Statue of Liberty was modeled after this dude's mom, the sculptor's mom. Look at her eyes and her jawline, right? You know, the resemblance ain't there. Now, this is his brother over here. Okay, what's this dude's name? This is Jean Charles. This is this is Bartholdi's brother, who he cared for a lot. They say he's mentally ill. Look at that like little quarter double chin. Look at that kind of weak jaw he's got, and look at that pronounced nose, and look at his brow. Look at his brow line, folks. Okay? Now look at the Statue of Liberty. You've got the same nose. You've got the same brow line. You've got that same weak chin with that little quarter double chin started. I'm telling you right now, you put this in a lineup and you take people who don't know this, like people from other countries, and say, is this statue modeled after this man or this woman? And I can guarantee you probably 90% of them are going to tell you it's modeled after this guy, right? So I just want to say that, because a lot of people criticize, oh, statue, you don't know what you're talking about. Statue of Liberty is figurative of the goddess Columbia and blah, 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 blah. You know, whatever, dude, okay? If that's what you believe, that's fine. But, you know, I want to be able to explain to you guys why I think what I think. I'm not just on here just kind of throwing out these crazy theories with no backing. Like, I stop and think about this stuff. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I'm just saying, I'm putting some thought into it here. I'm not just talking craziness for the sake of talking conspiracy theory, right? Okay. Now, I talked about the tablet the Statue of Liberty is holding, right? Okay. Because I told you that, let me restore this back, okay. Because I told you there are images of the Greek god Dionysus, which is Bacchus or Liber in the Roman theology, okay? And he's god of the underworld linked to Osiris, that's why he's relevant, okay? There are pictures of him, and I have it in the other video, of where he's holding a torch, and in some cases it's like an acorn-looking thing with a vine wrapped around it, okay? I believe that is symbolic of him, and the thing's name is Lady Liberty, right? Okay, this is the Statue of Liberty, and that's what Dionysus Liber stands for, is liberty, but in the sense of liberty as doing whatever you want and living like a heathen. He's the goddess of chaos. He's the goddess of freedom, as in, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. He's the god of the underworld, right? And now you ask, well, why do you believe that symbolizes Apollo 2? Because of that book in his hand right there, okay? Now let me show you this. Okay. Oh, I better be able to find it. Boy, oh boy. Hold on a second here. I'm going to pause this video real quick and let me pull this up. I'll be right. You know what? I better not pause it. I don't know if I can get back to where I'm at here. Good. All right. Anyways, you know what? I know where I got it. I'm sorry about this, folks. I've got it in this collection. Hold on a second here. Where is it? Here it is. All right. The tablet. Okay. The Statue of Liberty is holding a tabula ansata. That just basically means it's like something with writing on it it's something about the edge. I can't remember. But the important thing is what it symbolizes, which is a tablet that invokes the law, okay? And if you do any research on Apollo at all, you understand Apollo is about a sound mind, adhering to laws, following the rules kind of thing, okay? And these two things offset so much that what you have, let me find it here, what you have is literally philosophies designed around it, the Apollonian, or Apollonian, however you pronounce that word, and Dionysian, which are the two opposing views, because everybody understands that Apollo and Dionysus symbolize two different things. Apollo is a god of order. Dionysus is the god of liberty, freedom, and chaos, right? And I spoke about how that you can see that happening in America right now. If you look at the conservative versus the liberals, the faux Republicans versus the Democrats, that's exactly what's happening in America right now. And what does the Statue of Liberty stand for? America, right? And I believe that dualism is literally represented in the Statue of Liberty, okay? But here's the thing, folks. It's not just that. That's not the only reason that I believe that Apollo is linked into this, because when you look this stuff up, it's hard to link Apollo to, Nimrod and the king of Babylon, right? Okay? Now, here's the thing, too, and I want to talk about what these things are called, right? I want to talk about other names for the king of Babylon and his wife, right? That's what this all goes back to. That's what we're looking for in the Antichrist from a biblical perspective, the king of Babylon. Like the destruction of Babylon is talked about in Revelation 18, and we know that the king of Babylon, Nimrod, is the first one he made the Tower of Babel and tried to make a stargate to heaven to invade heaven and take over heaven, right? Okay, most of us understand that. Okay. His consort or wife or whatever, wife's sister, that was his wife and his sister, right? They have different names. Depending on the culture, they have different names for these beings, but they are the same beings. It's the same basic principle that are happening to these stories, right? And we know that Nimrod was cut into 14 pieces, and Nimrod's wife, Semiramis, was able to find 13 of them, and the 14th part being his phallus or penis she couldn't find, so she had to fashion that out of something else, and that symbolizes the obelisk that the Catholics have at St. Peter's Square, and the dome symbolizes Isis or Semiramis' womb, and we have that exact same type of setup at Washington, D.C. with the Capitol building and the Washington Monument, folks. That obelisk is Nimrod or Osiris's erect penis, okay, if I can be blunt here, and the dome symbolizes Semiramis's or Isis's womb, right? And then Nimrod literally, the story being that Isis gets it after he's murdered, after Nimrod or Osiris is murdered, folks. He's chopped in 14 pieces, right? She got and thrown in the Nile. She goes to the Nile, and an alligator or something ate his phallus, okay? But she was able to find 13 parts. So she puts these 13 parts back together, and then she makes like a fake phallus so she can try to impregnate herself. And now she allegedly has sex with this dead body and this fake phallus, but the Osiris was able to embody himself and kind of be reborn as Horus. So even though that they talk about Horus or, like Tammuz, like the equivalent, I can't remember the equivalent. Tammuz. Okay. So in like biblical theology, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz would be the names. And the most popular other one would probably be the Isis-Osiris, the Egyptian story of the Isis-Osiris and the sun being Horus. But that's the spirit of Osiris. So technically that's Osiris reborn, right? Okay? And a lot of people try to say that plays on the Holy Trinity and this, that, and the other. I'm not going to get into that because it's nonsense. But anyways, okay? That's what I'm talking about. So let's talk about these beings' names. Isis, or Semiramis, the Queen of Heaven, other names for her are Inanna, Isis, Ishtar, that's actually pronounced Easter. That's why you paint eggs on Easter and Easter bunnies. That don't have anything to do with Jesus. That's about Ishtar, Easter, okay? Semiramis, I mentioned earlier. Astarte is another name for her. Ashura and Ashtura. There are Asherah poles spoken about in the Bible. The people that worship the Queen of Heaven, they use poles and stuff, right? Aphrodite's another one people are linked. Venus is linked. And in the Hurrian, the northern Syrian religion, it would have been Ishara or Shasuka or something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. And the other names for like Nimrod and then would be, Horus too, his re-embodiment or rebirth, okay? Would be like Inanna would be, Nimrod would be Tammuz with Inanna. With Isis, Osiris would be Nimrod, right? And Horus would be the rebirth being in the Egyptian stuff, right? Ishtar, it would be either Anu or Gilgamesh, which is, either Nimrod or Horus, however you want to put it together. Again, I said Semiramis, that's the Queen of Heaven, okay? And then it would be Nimrod, and Tammuz would be the Horus figure there, okay? And like with Asher or Ashtoreth, there's a bunch of false gods named, you can basically call them the Baals, right? It might be Baal Hammon, but Baal is a general term for a false god, so, okay? And like with Aphrodite, it could be linked to, Nimrod would be maybe like, you know, Nimrod Osiris would be like Dionysus, Bacchus, Liber, and even Apollo plays into that. And from a perspective of Horus, that might be like Adonis, right? And Adonis is an interesting figure. He mirrors Baphomet and the fact that he can take the form of a man or a woman. Adonis had sex with Aphrodite. She was Aphrodite's lover and also Apollo's lover. So some strange stuff going on there. And in the Hurrian, belief system, whatever, Nimrod would have been maybe Kamarbi or the Samaji figure. I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to look at that, but I wanted to just let you guys know the names, okay? And cover that. Now, this is what I think is absolutely mind-blowing, folks, and I'm excited to show you guys this because I didn't know any of this until I started looking into these things, right? First, let's go back. First, let's go with those Isaiah 14, 4 through 32, okay? This is another thing that I can't believe that I've read this and didn't catch this, right? Lucifer is literally called the king of Babylon in Isaiah 14, 4 through 32, right? I'm going to read this again real quick so you understand the context, all right? Now, this is very similar to like Ezekiel 28 when you're talking about the prince of Tyre, right? And Ezekiel is writing these words and prophesying against two figures, the prince of Tyre and the king of Tyre. He starts with the prince of Tyre, and everything he says about the prince of Tyre are earthly things. Then when he gets to the king of Tyre, he starts calling him the anointed cherub that covereth, and talks about how he had like a priestly breastplate with all these shiny stones on it and stuff. Folks, that right there lays out the standard in which I was telling you, like in my first video when I told you, there are two different words translated in the book of Revelation as morning star. We're told that Jesus will give us the morning star, and like I think it's Revelation 2, the church of Thyatira. And I told you that I believe that was a seat of authority, right? And that word is pronos or something like that. I can't remember it. And then when Jesus says he is the bright and morning star in Revelation later on, I think it's in one of the 20 chapters, 22 or 23, he says he is the bright and morning star. That word is ornthos or something like that, okay? So what you have is you have like the top authority and then the second command kind of going on here. And I told you in the last video that I thought that's kind of how they play with the meaning of morning star. And, that's why Hallel ben Shakar in Isaiah, which is Lucifer, son of the morning, the Hebrew is Hallel ben Shakar, shining one, son of the morning. And how I told you that the word that it being son of the morning could mean that he's like second in command, right? I don't know if you all follow me on that, but I just wanted to go over that again. Anyways, we're talking about a spirit being here because this thing is called the king of Babylon, okay? Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Ye, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Thou art laid down, no feller is come against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all kings of all nations. That's talking about the descent of this king of Babylon into hell, right? All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also as weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Okay, so these beings that are in hell or Sheol, or they're amazed that this powerful being has been thrown in hell, right? Thy pomp is brought down to thy grave, and thy noise of thy viols. Okay, viols, folks, that's a harp or a lyre, and that is linked to Apollo, right? So that's how you kind of make the connection from Lucifer to Apollo, because later on here, it's in the very next verse, actually, this being is going to be called a Lucifer, and again, that's Hallel ben Shakar, shiny one, son of the morning, or shiny one, son of Venus, some people say. I don't know what the correct interpretation is. My guess is that we're talking about a position of authority, right? Anyways, back to this. Thy pomp is brought down to thy grave, and thy noise of thy vials, okay? The worm is spread under thee, and the worm covereth thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? So this being was in heaven, okay? Why they changed Hallel to Lucifer, I don't know. But there it is, folks. But this being has a vial. He's linked to a lyre or a harp, just like the god Apollo, okay? How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakest the nations, okay? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Okay, that's the exact same thing that Nimrod did in Babylon, folks, okay? Nimrod built a stargate, and they were going to use that stargate. They called it a tower to heaven, but it's a stargate. They were going to get into the higher dimensions and try to overthrow God in heaven, okay? So, this being is called the King of Babylon. I started with that. That started the whole conversation here, okay? The whole address to this being is first calling him the King of Babylon. Right there it is. Later on down here, he is, O Lucifer, son of the morning, okay? That is why I and other people link Lucifer to the king of Babylon, Nimrod, which is Osiris, is also linked to Dionysus and a lot of the other gods that I mentioned earlier, because there are a bunch of names. And remember, this being has a bunch of names because that's going to play in later. Okay. Now, someone might ask, okay, John, that's all fine and good, but why do you link Babylon to the United States? Someone might ask, John, why do you believe that the United States is the current modern day Babylon? I believe I can show that to you. Okay. Now, before I do that, I want to show you this, because I'm telling you folks, when I seen this, this really creeped me out. This is probably one of the most important finds that I have found in my research, and actually, my brother is the one who told me this and showed me this, because I was venting to him frustrations about how when you're trying to run down these Greek and Roman gods that it runs in circles and you don't know what's true and what's not and what applies, what is actually the same being in each thing. And he literally said, yeah, you're going to run in circles with that. You need to focus on this. I'm going to show you this right now, folks. It's going to blow your mind. I credit my brother for showing me this. Dionysus, who is the god of the underworld, linked to Osiris. Even in the Wikipedia page, they make that connection. That's undeniable. He is linked to Yahweh, God of the Jews, and this Sabazios character that the Romans, it goes back further than the Romans, but the Romans worshipped him in the 1st century. And look at that hand gesture, folks. Okay? You've probably seen that in pictures. Well, let me just show you. Okay? Let me just show you. That's the same thing this Baphomet statue is doing, folks. The thumb bended in, the 2 fingers up, these 2 fingers down, but it's the Sabazios worship. There was a snake coming around the last 2 fingers here, right? Okay. Now let me show you this. That's another one. That's another, and they found this was from 1st century Rome. You see these 2 fingers are up. The thumb is up. It's a little different, but it's similar. You've got these 2 fingers down and the snake wrapping around the hand, okay? Here's the other one. You got the thumb up, the snake's wrapping around these 2 fingers. That is linked to Sabazios worship, which is linked to Dionysus. You see similar hand gestures. The thumb's up here, the 2 fingers are forward, and these are kind of coming down, okay? This is one of these, I believe this is like a Catholic portrait of Jesus. See this again? Let me zoom this in. You've got the very similar hand gestures here, right? And if you've been like me, you found that hand gesture odd. Here's another one, okay? Similar hand gestures. The first 2 fingers are up, these 2 are down, and this hand is up. Everything but the snake is there, right? Everything but the snake. Same thing here, right? So, folks, that's not Jesus. I'm going to tell you that right now. The people who made those photos, if they're in on the plan, they know that's not Jesus. That is symbolizing Sabazios, Dionysus, Apollo, the god they are trying to resurrect, which in all actuality is Nimrod. They want to resurrect the spirit of Nimrod or Osiris through Horus or Tammuz, right? There's that hand. I wanted to show you that. And there is something else Several ancient sources record an apparent widespread belief in the classic world that the god worshipped by the Jewish people, Yahuwah, Yahweh, was identifiable as Dionysus or Liber via his identification with Sabazios, okay? A lot of people talked about this. Some believed it was connected, some wasn't. But you can see the confusion's been around for a long time, folks. You can see that confusion is ancient. People seen some of the things that were being done, and they're confusing the identity, literally, of Jesus Christ and the Antichrist all the way back to the 1st century in Rome, okay? So that to me was extremely interesting, folks. Okay? Now, I want to get to the dollar bill. Folks, the United States of America was founded by occultists that worship Lucifer, Apollo, Dionysus, right? They are Freemasons. They don't tell you their real God is Apollo, Dionysus, Lucifer until you hit the 33rd degree. But we have their correspondence back and forth. We have Manly P. Hall's writings. We have that general from the world, from what was his name? Albert Pike. We have Albert Pike's writings. They talk about Lucifer. We have Blavatsky's writings that talk about Lucifer. We have Alice Bailey's writings that talk about Lucifer. And Blavatsky's relevant because of Nicholas Roerich, who was the guru for Lyndon Baines Johnson's and Lyndon Baines Johnson's right-hand man Wallace, that actually decided to put the seal on the back of the dollar bill, folks. Okay. Let me find this here. This is gonna blow your mind. Where are the seals? Hold on a second. All right. The first thing here to understand. E pluribus unum, okay? This is on the back of the dollar bill. It's on the right-hand side, okay? The eagle's holding this in the banner in his mouth, folks. Now, there's dual meaning here. They say out of many, one. But the people in the know that understand the Latin and where this came from one of Virgil's writings, right? Okay? That means out of many names, one. Now, I talked earlier about how all the different names for Nimrod, Osiris, and the Queen of Heaven, right? That's what that means, okay? That's what I believe it means. That's what other people believe it means that study this. They'll tell you out of many, one. Oh, that's because the United States is a melting pot and we welcome everybody, which, you know, partly true, but that's not what the founding fathers that worshipped Apollo, Lucifer, put that on the back. That's not where that seal came from, and that's not why they put it on the back of the dollar bill years later, right? That means out of many names, one God. That's what that means. All right. Novus Order Seclorum. Let's talk about that one. Okay. As you can see, it's on the banner on the back part of the seal, but that's actually on the left side of the dollar. It's written right here. Literally, folks, this is the smoking gun, okay? Out of the Eclogue of Virgil, right? Virgil is writing about what the Cumae Sibyl, the Apollo's priestess, let me find this here so you know what I'm talking about. These Sibyls, folks, are oracles. They are prophetesses, okay? They are prophetesses. They are prophets of the ancient world, right? Or not of the ancient world, but of the Greek and Romans and this, that, and the other, right? The Cumaean Sibyl is the one that was the Apollonian oracle or priest at Cumae, okay? Cumae Sibyl is how she's referred to, right? Okay? Virgil in his Eclogue, I believe it's 4, in his Eclogue 4, Virgil is quoting her prophecy about the new world. Now is come the final era of Sibyl's song. The great order of the ages is born afresh, okay? New world order. Now justice returns, honored rules return, the return of Saturn's reign. Now a new lineage is sent down from heaven, okay? Folks, that is about the spirit of Osiris being resurrected in Horus back again on the United States and leading the world into the golden age, right? The Greco-Romans believed in the golden age, where the gods were down here mating with human beings, and this, that, and the other, right? Then the Silver Age came, where mankind got away from the gods and stopped believing, and they paid the price for it, right? Then there was the Brass Age, right? Okay? And then we are in the Iron Age right now, and they say it's going to run in a circle and come back to the Golden Age, and this being is going to come back. This is what they were referring to with Lucifer, folks. Right on the back of our dollar bill, they are predicting the resurrection of Horus. Everybody knows that star, or not that star, but that pyramid shape with the eye in the middle, that is the eye of Horus, okay? That is the eye of Horus. That is Osiris resurrected as Horus. That is the spirit of Osiris resurrected back in Horus. That is what the Washington Monument and the dome, the Capitol building, the dome in Washington, D.C. mean, okay? The obelisk, the Washington Monument, which is 666 feet high or something like that. It's all linked to 666. That obelisk represents the phallus, okay, of Nimrod that Semiramis, or if you want to call him Osiris, that Isis made. And the dome building, the round shape, is Isis's womb. And when the president is in there, right, that is the ritual in which the spirit of Osiris comes down in the womb and embodies that human being, Horus. So every United States president that takes that oath of office, folks, that gets inaugurated, right, that is what they're doing. They're sticking the spirit of Nimrod in the vein of Horus inside that thing, right? He is basically Horus, Nimrod's spirit in flesh. That is what that represents, okay? And, okay, Annuit Coeptus. Let me go over this one. Okay, this basically means, they'll tell you that it means our favored undertakings are blessed or something like that, but it basically means that this God that they worship is favoring and blessing their dark undertakings, okay? Very strange. It's on the back of the dollar bill, Annuit Coeptus. It's, you know, I can tell you who's got some really good work on this if you want some more in detail, folks. Tom Horn has, I have not read the book, but I watched some of the videos he's done in which he speaks about this and the symbology. They took Skywatch off of YouTube. But you can find Skywatch in these videos that I'm referring where Tom Horn talks about this stuff on Rumble. Go to Rumble, look up Skywatch TV, folks. You'll find it. All right? And that's about all I want to stick in this video for now because I don't want this to go too long. And I hope that I haven't skipped around so much that I've confused y'all. But I want to kind of try to show why I believe what I believe, and why the United States symbolizes Babylon. And I believe, like, okay, and I want to go over this too. There are two places in which you have the dome building that represents Isis's womb, and you have the obelisk that represents Osiris's phallus, right? And I just explained how they believe that when the new ruler goes and stands in the dome building, that's Isis's womb, and through the phallus or obelisk, they receive the spirit of Osiris and become, or standing in Horus's spot, which is the human representative of Nimrod on the planet. Okay, you have the dome and the obelisk at Washington, D.C. You have the dome and the obelisk at St. Peter's Square. The Catholics have it. Why did the Catholics go to Egypt and get a red granite obelisk and take it to St. Peter's Square and bless it and erect it up there, folks? Right there shows you what they believe. Now, they have some story about how they blessed it and they using it for, you know, God's good and this, that, and the other. That's a joke to me, folks. That everybody who studies this stuff knows what that's symbolic of, right? But it's at St. Peter's Square, okay? And that's symbolic. Why is that important? Because in Egypt, when they would crown a new pharaoh, right, they would throw him in like one of those little boats and roll him up the Nile, right? And they would take him into what symbolized the womb of Isis there, folks. And with an obelisk there, the ones that the Catholics went and got was one of them. With that obelisk there, they would perform this ritual in which that pharaoh walks in a man, receives the spirit of Nimrod, representative of Horus, and walks out a man and a god. That way the Egyptians had a god representing them on earth. That was their ruler. You know, that is where this symbology comes from, right? And, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that it's just right in front of your face, you know? Again, I mean, I know this stuff is kind of confusing, and I hope I don't sound like a babbling lunatic here, but, folks, this is what I believe, and I believe the symbology to support it is there, and, until someone comes up with a better explanation as to what these things mean. I mean, I'm open to it, but until someone comes up with a better explanation, like I want to know, I'm open to hear it. But I believe the symbology's there. They worship Lucifer, and I believe Apollo and Dionysus both symbolize Lucifer. If you want to call Dionysus Liber or Symbazios or whatever they're calling him, call him whatever you want. It's got many names. Kind of reminds me of that Rolling Stones song. But anyways, folks, that's all I've got for this video. If you have any questions about it or anything, all my contact information will be in the description for this video. And until next time, folks, God bless you all in Jesus' name.